Thanks for joining us live with Miami's Community News. And our guest today is James Richard with Miami-Dade Solid Waste Department. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So we escaped a storm so far. Here it is, essentially almost the end of September. The peak season got away, but yet our friends in Puerto Rico got hammered.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And it was a relatively small storm, but caused a lot of damage there.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about what we can still do here in Miami-Dade County so that the trees will cause less damage.
No, absolutely. Preparation is key. Our department reaches out and promotes hurricane preparation early in the year to make sure that our customers take the necessary steps so that they aren't caught in a bind as a storm is approaching. So we tell people to do their lawn maintenance, early in the year before storm season, to make sure that they schedule their bulky waste pickup appointments, take their materials to a trash and recycling center so that if a storm is approaching, they're waiting in a long line. They're not scrambling to try to dispose of these large items that might be on the curb or right of way that might become projectiles in the event of a storm. So we really want people to take advantage of the opportunity now. Even though storm season, we're right in the middle of it, in the peak of it. We want people to take advantage now and do what they can to mitigate those issues in the event that a storm does approach.
So we know lots of people don't do anything until something is like right there, like put in hurricane windows, if you will. They do that when we've had a couple threatening storms, but obviously the thing to do is to do way ahead of time.
No.
Mm-hmm. So if somebody have big yards with big trees, right? Those things break off, fall on roofs, projectiles, can hurt and cause a lot of damage. So if it's a do-it-yourselfer in his backyard, getting on a ladder, I don't know why, but getting on a ladder, they cut that stuff, and they've got it collected in their backyard.
Right.
What should they do?
Well, before they do any of those activities, they should schedule a bulky waste pickup appointment. They could call 311 or go to miamidade.gov/bulky waste to schedule an appointment. And that way they can know the exact date that we would come out and remove that material. Like I said, we're about, our turnaround time right now is about 8 or 9 days. So from today, you're talking about mid next week. You really want to go ahead and schedule that appointment before you do any of that maintenance. We allow our customers to place that material 3 days in advance of their scheduled pickup appointment date. That way it's not out on the curb for a long period of time and might attract illegal dumping or things like that. So you want to schedule your appointment, then perform that yard maintenance as your appointment date is approaching. So within those 3 days, place the material at the curb and we'll collect it. But remember, if a storm is approaching, at a certain point, our bulky pickups will be suspended because we want to make sure that we could, collect what is out there. And so you really don't want to wait until the last minute to schedule an appointment because there might be an opportunity where we might not be able to get out there.
So if somebody calls ahead of time, they can put their stuff out there for a certain number of days ahead. But the minimum that happens when a code enforcement officer is driving up and down the street, they're going to see pile, they're going to check, and they're going to say, oh, they've already called in. So
you always want to schedule your appointment before you put material out there. That way it's in our system, and that that way our enforcement staff knows about it. We have a grace period for the remainder of the year because we started our new appointment system in January. So we understand there's still a period of education for our customers to get accustomed to it. So there's no fines or anything, but we really want our customers to visit our website, miamidade.gov/bulky waste, to get accustomed to the new system, the 3-day set out period that we allow for bulky piles, and just make sure that you have that appointment scheduled before you place any material out on the curb.
So the last go around, I was in the backyard with a wheelbarrow hauling the stuff up front, and then one of my neighbors said, "Miller, come here." He said, "You have an old tarp with rope on it?" Yes. He says, "Watch this." Puts a big tarp on the ground, throws all the stuff on it,
and we pull it out,
and we pulled it up front.
There you go. That works.
And it went, wow, who would have thunk?
Yeah, yeah.
It's meanwhile, like I'm trying to do 4 things in there.
Yeah.
Certainly the county wants everybody to be done a couple of days ahead. And at some point, the county's going to go, we're not coming out anymore. Typically, when is that?
Yeah. So basically, we suspend our bulky waste pickup appointments and pickups at a certain point to try to get what has already been scheduled. So you think that, people have scheduled a week in advance. We're trying to get as much as we can as the storm is approaching. We stop operations typically when sustained winds reach tropical storm force. So I believe that's 35 miles per hour because our vehicles are tall, they're large, and those winds blowing on the side of a vehicle is a safety hazard, and we don't want our staff out there either. So we really, try to collect as much as we can before those winds reach that sustained number. But once it does reach that number, we pull back all of our crews.
Lots of people who haven't been through a big storm forget what it's like, or don't know when those limbs fall off the trees. Not going to just damage your house, right? If it hits your car, that it's going to be a lot of money.
No, absolutely. And that's why a lot of people wait till the last minute. They're like, oh my gosh, this storm is approaching. I have these branches hanging over my roof, hanging over my vehicle. So I'm going to cut them down now, a day or two out from when a storm's supposed to approach. And then when they try to go online to schedule a pickup, like I said, it's about 8 days out right now. So, they're caught in a bind, and then they try to go to our trash and recycling centers, and there's a line down the road because everybody else is trying to do the same thing. So we're really trying to promote, being prepared, not, don't procrastinate, take care of it now, so it's not an issue when the storm approaches.
And sometimes folks say, well, I'll just get it out of my place over here and I'll put it out on the street. All right. That's a small picture.
Yes. Yeah, okay. Absolutely. Because, what everybody's concerned about is, my neighbor across the street has this pile with, tree branches and furniture, and the storm's coming, it's going to blow and hit my house, hit my car. And so you really do want to be proactive. Think about your community, think about the safety of yourself and others, your property, other people's property, and take those necessary steps in advance.
So James, let's say it's a big storm, whatever it is, and it knocks over a lot of trees, right? And there'll be some damage to maybe some sheds and stuff. What should people do?
Well, what our customers should do is, after a storm, just assess, first of all, make sure it's safe. You want to make sure that you're able to go out safely after a storm. And then you just take all of your hurricane debris, all the debris from your household or from your property, and you could set it out in front of your property. Our department is responsible for the removal of hurricane debris from our customers' residential properties. So anybody who is serviced by our department who has storm-related debris can place it on their right-of-way for collection. The first thing our department does after a storm is help clear the roads. That's the first thing our department does, because, first responders need to be able to get to people who are in need, who might need assistance. And so we assist in that operation, and then we begin the debris removal portion of our activities.
And what happens to all that debris?
Well, I'm glad you asked. No, it's funny you should ask, because people always say, oh, do you take it to the waste to energy facility? Does it end up in the landfill? Our department identifies what we call staging sites, and they're located throughout our service area, and they're strategically located so that when our contractors and our crews collect debris from in front of our customers' homes, they drop them off and go back into the field really quick. They don't have to drive far distances. They're almost like the transfer stations that I've mentioned before. Yes. In other discussions with you. So once that material is brought to a staging site, the material is ground up, so it's kind of a uniform size, and we could kind of fill up trucks with, so we aren't worrying about big branches blocking off portions of trucks. It's ground up into almost like a mulch, and then it's actually taken out of Miami-Dade County for disposal. So none of the storm debris that we collected, so for example, Hurricane Irma, none of that material that was collected in front of people's homes stayed in Miami-Dade County. It was taken out of the county for final disposal, so it doesn't stay here.
And since you brought up about the waste to energy, let's talk about that,
Sure.
About what's going on there and what's about to happen with the truck.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you mentioned, we have a waste to energy facility, the resources recovery facility. It's kind of the workhorse of our department. It accepts garbage and trash from our residential properties. And so it basically converts that material, they burn it, and it generates electricity for about 35,000 homes. We have an agreement with the city of Homestead, who accepts some of that electricity, so it actually powers homes within our county. And then, as you mentioned, we actually received our first electric garbage collection truck. We'll be making an official unveiling shortly. But the interesting thing about that is that truck will be charged at the plant, so that the garbage it collects will essentially fuel it so that it can go out and service our customers in the community.
So the stuff that we pick up from the garbage cans of 340,000 residents,
Mm-hmm.
customers
Yep.
in Dade County, twice a week lots of it goes over there.
Absolutely.
And that stuff gets turned into energy.
Yeah, absolutely. It powers the plant and about 35,000 homes.
So Back to the Future, in that little car where they're dumping banana peels in the back of the truck, who knew how close that would be?
Yeah, it's kind of like that, a little bit different. I think it's a little bit different technology. But no, that's exactly what, our director has been very, forward thinking. This is the first in what we hope are many electric vehicles in our fleet. And it really is kind of a game changer as far as being environmentally conscious and making that impact in our environment.
We know that takes generations for that to get into the mindset of the people starting from this age. But certainly when you say this is an electric vehicle, electric truck, and it's charged and we make the power that goes in, that is tremendous.
No, absolutely. And we've actually wrapped that truck with that messaging. It's basically saying that this truck is powered by the garbage it collects. It literally
We're
says
going to
that.
go find it, take some pictures.
No, absolutely. And we will be promoting it, obviously, and have, been very proud about that fact. And so we really do want to hammer that message home.
At some point, there could be a whole bevy of these trucks lined up there.
Absolutely.
And plugged into the wall at night, getting all charged up.
No, and that's the plan. We want to have what they call a closed loop system. A lot of people think, their garbage ends up in a landfill, and here in Miami-Dade County, that is not the case. The vast majority of that material ends up at our waste to energy plant. And so, maybe, someone's fascination with electric vehicles, our promotion of it gets them into that mindset of understanding where that energy comes from, and them understanding that it's a closed loop system that we're hopefully going to implement in our fleet in the future.
So somebody that goes to work for the county in this arena, that the trash pickup is one part of this operation.
Right.
It's all that is connected. It's amazing that you could be, let's work on getting more of these vehicles there, and how can we make this thing better? Let's talk a little bit about recycling, speaking of making things better.
Mm-hmm.
I typically spout off figures that I've learned here. All right, I know I'm wrong most of the time, but occasionally I get it right. So let's talk about recycling those in the blue containers every 2 weeks.
Yep.
A vendor from the county goes out, picks it up, and most of the material they pick up goes to a plant. Where's that plant?
So the plant's located in Pembroke Pines. It's operated and owned by Waste Management Incorporated. So it's not our department, it's the private company. And what they do is it's a materials recovery facility, a MRF, what they call it in the industry. And they sift through all the material that is offloaded, and they separate it into different categories. So you're talking about plastic, paper, cardboard, aluminum, and they bale that material, and then they ship it off to different manufacturers for that material to be processed.
And they have other customers throughout the state that drop their
Yeah. From my understanding, that facility services, Monroe County. I believe there's Central Florida also uses that facility for that purpose.
So a Coke can, I use that generically, right? It used to be really stiff can, now it's like it'll hold it just enough. We all got to adjust to it. Like the original single-use plastic used to be really tough. Now it's like just enough to keep it standing, and we all get it, right? How long does it take for one of those cans, a Coke can, if you will, take before it gets recycled?
So from the point you put it into your recycling cart to when it's back on the shelf is 60 days.
That is crazy.
Aluminum is very, very desirable. It's very easily processed. Think about it. Cardboard and paper, it absorbs a liquid, and that makes it a little bit more tricky. But aluminum, liquid just rolls right off. So you're able to, the processors are able to clean it really quickly, make it into new cans, and put them on the shelf in a short period of time.
So the single bottle use water and the other stuff that gets recycled.
Yes,
and they make other stuff just like that.
No, absolutely. We accept plastic bottles in our program, narrow neck containers. All other types of plastic are not accepted, but those bottles are very desirable as well. They get made into new bottles, but they're also used to make filler for jackets. They're used for a number of different applications.
If somebody puts recyclable material, let's say Coke cans and single-use water bottles, into the green carts, and it's destined to be they're going to burn it up to create energy.
Right.
Does any of that recyclables get taken out of that, or because it's already divided, it doesn't?
Well, so some of the metals do. We actually, that's one of the I'm glad you brought that up. So metal doesn't get burned. And so there are magnets at the resources recovery facility that takes out that metal, and that metal is actually recycled. So there is some recycling that goes on at the plant. So yes, to answer your question, plastic can be burned to generate heat to create steam, to turn those turbines and create electricity. So if you do put recyclables in your garbage cart, it will end up most likely at the resources recovery facility to generate electricity as well.
And you've been in this field for how long?
I've been with the department 6 years in December.
And before that, you were?
I worked for Broward County Parks.
Right.
So I've been within government for my whole professional career.
Okay. And the last 6, you've been around, and you're acutely aware of the regular trash and recycling. Do you see a change in recycling?
Yes, the volume has gone up. We definitely noticed that there was an uptick in recycling, specifically in boxes, during the pandemic, because people were staying at home. They were ordering things from different retailers, and so they had those shipping boxes, and they were recycling them. People were requesting additional recycling carts all over the place, and so the volume of recyclables has gone up. But we still want to educate our customers to know that they want to put the proper materials in their recycling carts.
So even though a pizza box is cardboard pizza, it's not recyclable.
Well, that's correct, because you have grease and cheese and food waste embedded within those fibers. So you want to make sure that you take those pizza boxes and put them in your garbage cart.
So we have a square box with the round pizza in it, and then we cut it into triangles. Go figure.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy how that works. Crazy how that works.
So, and my grandkids, they're all into recycling, and they get that. And even though we've been exposed to it maybe for 40 years, it seems to be people are acutely aware of it. And when the county starts doing the having that truck out there that starts promoting that more, it just reminds us about what to do.
No, and that's the thing. Repetition is key. We feel like we keep on hammering home that message. People will take it to heart, and they'll be able to really take initiative and separate those materials and recycle what they're supposed to, because that's what's really important.
So, James, what are some things that happen with the county and your department that most people aren't aware of?
Well, I'd probably say, recycling. I think people are aware of recycling, but the specific items, I know there's a lot of confusion, because a lot of items fall within multiple categories. So we have what we call the simple 5, which is cardboard, cans, cartons, paper, and bottles. Those are the 5 types of items that we accept in our recycling program. But someone might see something that has plastic and metal in it and say, oh, this might be recyclable. Let me just put it in my cart, and they'll figure it out at the end of the day. We call it wishful recycling. That's not really beneficial to our program. And so we really want people to understand that recycling is beneficial. People know that recycling is good, but in order for it to be effective, it needs to be done properly. And that's really the point that we want to hammer home, that people need to recycle properly in order for it to benefit the environment. So
what happens to material that is put in the recycling blue can that is not recyclable? Where does it change? What happens to it?
Right. So it ends up at that facility in Pembroke Pines. And like I said, they sort it. So that means they sort out the recyclables and they take out what is not recyclable. And all that material ends up at a disposal site, so whether at a landfill or a waste energy facility.
And that's done by hand and machine.
Yes. So they do have, it's a bunch of conveyor belts at the facility. It's really interesting, but they do have manual, sorters. So they do have people there who try to take out that material that's not supposed to be there.
So maybe one point people are still trying to recycle that should go up there for a couple hours and see what that's like. That'll straighten us out.
Well, we have videos on our YouTube channel. If you want to take a look on how it works, a lot of people are very interested in the recycling plant, and that's exactly what it is. It's a plant, a bunch of conveyor belts. They separate all the material, but our YouTube channel has videos.
So they put in recycling Miami-Dade County or Miami-Dade Gov?
Yeah. So if you go to our website, miamidade.gov/solid waste, you scroll down, we have a number of videos there available, and you could link to the YouTube channel for the entire county and find our playlist for solid waste.
And also on there's some videos, a tour, if you will, of the plant.
Oh yeah, so we have a 2-part tour of the resources recovery facility, where it breaks down exactly what the process is, and we have a number of videos on our website that are really beneficial for our customers if they want to find out more.
We know that there are some landfills around. One is at South Dade.
Right.
What is the name of it?
This is South Dade landfill. We have another one up north on the county line. Yeah, we have videos of our facilities. It basically goes through the entire process. We have an overview video that talks about from curbside to the final disposal site. Information on both facilities.
And
Who can access?
Are there birds out there all the time?
There are birds out there all the time. Down south, it's really interesting. It's one of the highest points in Miami-Dade County. I was out there one time. There were bald eagles flying around. It's really quite the sight out there.
And so they're out there, they're picking out the food out of it.
Yeah. So they either catch the draft from the side of the landfill, so the wind blows and then it comes up, so they catch the updraft and they kind of float up there, or there are birds that scavenge. So either site, it's always kind of an interesting site for bird watching if you're out there working on those days.
So here we are again. So the end of September, we have the holidays are coming up. We're going to have a little uptick in boxes.
Oh, absolutely.
And what's the best way for people to handle these boxes?
So what you want to do is first you want to make sure that they're clean and dry, and then you want to flatten those boxes. So you want to take a little time to get the box cutter out, the pair of scissors, cut the tape. You can leave the tape on, that's fine. But you want to flatten, fold, or possibly cut if you have a really large box to make sure that they fit in your recycling cart nice and loose, so that when it's serviced, they'll fall right out into the truck.
So sometimes people say, well, I want to do it fast. Well, there is this other part of it, which is when we cut that and we put it into the thing there, we're part of the process, and we're part of making this whole thing better.
No, absolutely. Right? And there have been customers who have called and said, my cart hasn't been emptied, and our contractor goes out and they're like, oh, they have a box jammed in there, so nothing else was able to fall out. I always tell my kids it's better to do it right than to do it fast. So to take the time, break down those boxes, make sure that they fit in loose so that they'll be able to fall out really easy when they're serviced.
Can we talk about dumping?
Sure.
So down yonder in Homestead, and in the Redland and unincorporated Homestead, right, lots of times there's trash that is dumped on the side of the roads.
Right.
Most of the time, it seems like that's really on private property. Mm-hmm. The property owner has to pick that stuff up.
Well, yeah. So what happens is our enforcement division, if they're alerted to this illegal dumping, they'll go out and try to find who is responsible for placing that material at the curb. I think we mentioned before there have been people who leave restaurant receipts, yes, and things of that nature, bills, packing slips, and they really do as good a job as possible to find out who's responsible. But if there is no information there about where that material came from, then since it is on a private property, those property owners would have to remediate that material on the
and they can make a great case to the county, but at the end of the day,
there's an appeal process. But again, it's up to it's up to the customer to maintain their property in the rights of way. I know that's an issue with a lot of the lands down south, vacant properties. We get contacted by property owners who have vacant land that they're planning to build on in more populated areas, and people think that that's a perfect place to dump furniture and tires and things like that. So it's really something they have to maintain and keep an eye on their properties to ensure
the county does have security cameras in high traffic locations. Yes. All right, mm-hmm, where the dumping takes place, and right, they're monitored.
Yes,
I understand not too long ago, the guy monitoring sees that they send the enforcement guys out there and they caught the guys.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. We have what they call game cameras. So hunters use them, to go hunting. And they're camouflaged, and we put them in strategic locations. Yeah, well, that's the point. We don't want people to know that they're there and that they're being watched. But we have what we call hotspots within our service area, and those areas are monitored regularly. The feeds are followed by our enforcement division, and when they find those vehicles and those perpetrators, they're able to zoom in, get license plates, and catch whoever's illegal dumping. That's in those terrific areas. Yep.
So years ago in horse country, we were having a problem with the remains from Santeria. There were goats and chickens and things. So if somebody winds up with a dead animal on their property, on their own property, not in the swale of the county property, right, what do they do?
Well, if there's a dead animal, they need to contact Animal Services. Unfortunately, we don't handle that. It's the same thing from my understanding. If unfortunately, if an animal is struck in the road, Animal Services is the department to contact in those instances. They have the facilities and the equipment to handle the disposal of perished animals. And so, yeah, you don't want to put it into your garbage cart. You don't want to put it in your recycling cart. You want to contact Animal Services or a veterinary office to take care of those instances
and behave.
Yes.
So somebody doesn't do it again.
No, absolutely. I mean, we've had those instances before where, sure, someone doesn't know the proper procedure and we referred them to Animal Services.
So what is the landowner's responsibility if they have big trees that are hanging over into the public? in their yard, and let's say it's a fruit tree, mangoes or whatever, avocados, and they're dropping all over the street. Does the county come by and say, hey, listen, your private property is dumping out on the street?
Well, it really does depend, from my understanding. If it's causing issues on the roadway where it's creating a hazard, then it might be something that the Department of Transportation and Public Works might look at. But it really is up to the property owner, to the homeowner, to maintain their property. And I know that in personal experience, you have a neighbor who has a tree and there's a branch hanging over and leaves are falling into your pool and things like that. That's when you really want to collaborate. Everybody, you don't want to go ahead and just chop down a branch off of somebody's tree, but you want to collaborate, whether it be with the county if you're concerned with branches over a roadway or a walkway, or someone who's a neighbor of yours having a branch. You really want to talk to them and see what could be done without getting any of the governmental agencies involved to remedy the situation.
Okay, let's go back to if there's a pending hurricane.
Sure.
All right. Let's say you're looking at it and it looks like that it's coming our way.
Right.
Let's say it's a week away and it's like headed our direction.
Right.
What should people do?
Well, what people should do is clean up their backyards. If you are going to do any yard maintenance, cutting down branches, trimming trees, you want to bring it to a trash and recycling center. Again, if you try to schedule a bulky appointment at that point, if you're talking a week out or maybe 5 days, chances are your appointment won't come before the storm makes landfall. So you want to take it to a trash and recycling center. It's at your convenience. When a storm is approaching, we actually expand hours until those tropical storm force winds reach that mile per hour where we have to shut down. So we expand hours to allow more people to go there. But that way, if you bring it to a trash and recycling center, it's on you. You don't have to, worry about whether or not we're going to come and clear up material from in front of your property.
I know most people are procrastinators, so one of the things they can do now is go back and take care of that stuff, so they're not going to get jammed up.
Yeah. Do it now. Do it now. Don't wait. We always tell people before hurricane season. We're in the middle of hurricane season, and thankfully, well, knock on wood, we haven't had a storm yet. But you want to take advantage now before anything is really kind of looming over the area.
We're going to wrap it up. James Richards with the Miami-Dade Solid Waste Department. Folks, thank you for joining us. Have a great week out there and stay safe.